Hi everyone, welcome back to Christy TV. Oseni Rufai blast our own Peter Obi because of the emergency rule which took place in River State. My correct people, them in this particular video you're about to watch, this is a video about the trending thing happening in Nigeria, especially the River state of emergency declaration by the president of Nigeria in the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which has now been officially backed by Nigerian Senate. In a closed door and in the voice vote in which they did it yesterday in closed door, coming out to say that they are backing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The question now is, why are you backing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Because he is the president of the country, without even checking the rule of law in country to know if actually what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing is actually the right thing or not. We are in a country whereby the so-called politicians choose to do anything they feel like that will please them. That is what they choose to do. Imagine delving into the face of River State government, even Wike shaking the River State government to the extent of removing and suspending Fubara for 6 months. The question now is, who is Wike in River State government affairs? Why is Wike pulling legs? Why is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu backing Wike? And why are the senators in Nigeria also dancing in the tune of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Is there something fishy? I want you guys to watch this video of Arise News to see what our own Oseni Rufai said, and he equally blamed Peter Obi regarding this chaos in River State. Now, watch the rest of the video and feel free to drop your opinion in the comment section.
We broke the intelligence report that they were going to do a voice vote yesterday here during the show, so we knew what they were going to do. And I would say kudos to the senators that did make their voices heard. I didn't like the way the Senate president tried to target Senator Seraki Dixon. And this morning, Senator Seraki Dixon, you are my hero. You stood your ground. What was the meaning of the Senate president say, you had already gone on TV to say that anything the Senate do, you will not support it. Doesn't the senator have a right to go against the Senate? Why blacklist him like that? So we also thank other senators that were not part of the charade. But I wasn't surprised. You know why? I stated this 2 days ago, that if you believe that this Senate will stand up against President Tinubu, you must think Victor Osimhen is a South African striker. I said it. And I hate to say, told you so. And they did it through voice votes at a critical national issue like this. But I'm going to blame somebody this morning. I'm going to blame Mr. Peter Obi for most of these problems. And Mr. Peter Obi, this attack is from me to you. You do not have control over your parliamentary party. At some point, if you are the candidate of a political party that got over 6 million votes, that have well over how many people in the House of Rep, over 10 to 15 people in the House of Rep, and another number in the Senate, you should be able to call people in your fold, in your parliamentary party to order. A lot of your senators pivot. I know you are going to say, oh, Rufai, this is democracy. I like to give people a free rein. No. But there must be a consensus in your parliamentary party as regards where you want to go. Because we had it on record about some senators that of the Labour Party, which we thought are opposition, that also supported this yesterday. A lot of due legislative processes were not followed. But I think the other part of the story I also want to talk about is that for the first time, we had a rebuttal by Mr. Fubara yesterday, where he debunked all the allegations made against him. He said he had constantly called for peace. He said even as recent as one of the last public engagements he did, when I think they got some facilities or some platforms for the Air Force or something, he said he still called for peace there. He said as regards the National Assembly, the State House Assembly, structure that was bombed, he said there had been a consensus that they will have to rebuild at some point, way back in 2022, that there was a leaking roof. And they are talking about fixing the state of things. He also debunked many allegations, and it's good. But we also need to see a proof of life of Fubara in all of this.
All right. Proof of life, I hear, is being housed in Bayelsa State.
Okay.
That's
good.
Okay, a number of issues. One is the fact that we have to worry about the future of River State. Vice Admiral retired Ibokete Ibas, we've been told had a broadcast in which he was saying that he will not tolerate any kind of misbehavior, any kind of indiscipline in Rivers State. The same man who a few days earlier said that, he was going to work with all stakeholders. The same man whom we advised to reject the appointment. Now, a number of questions about Ibokete Ibas. They have had their way, but we will have our say. And it is as follows. Now, the impression that has been created now with the appointment of Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas is at any point, when there is a problem with this 1999 reinstalled democracy, they will go and call a military person to come and take charge. Now, what is the democratic leadership in Nigeria trying to convey? Namely, the impression that civilians are incompetent, and that when there is any problem, you have to go and look for a retired soldier to come and take charge of the Nigerian situation. President Obasanjo did it in his time, and now President Tinubu has also done it in his time. Number two, with regard to Ibokete Ibas, the Supreme Court, when it ruled that money should not be given to Rivers State, the main argument in that judgment was that, look, you don't have democratic structures in place at that level in Rivers State. And hence, Governor Fubara should represent the budget. I don't know Fubara, I've never met him. I even think that he's not smart enough. I think he's not intelligent enough. So people who are going about saying I'm Fubara's agent, they are stupid. I don't know him. We deal with the issues. Now, the man that is now there in Rivers State as sole administrator, the Constitution of Nigeria does not provide for sole administratorship. If there's anybody who ever read any book on law who thinks it is there, they should tell me. Now we now hear that he will receive allocations. So the Supreme Court that said, the same Supreme Court that said you cannot receive allocations if you are not democratically, in place, is sole administrator Ibokete Ibas constitutionally in place? My answer is no, and I insist on that. The third issue is that this sole administrator, who is going to check him? Part of the job of the legislature is to do oversight, to ask questions, to ensure accountability and transparency. Who is going to do that in Rivers State? So when I argue that it looks like both the executive and the legislative functions of Rivers State have been taken over by the Federal Executive Council, a body that is not empowered to do so, I was standing on terra firma. Anybody who argues contrary-wise doesn't know what he or she is talking about. Okay, let us leave that. The president has thanked the National Assembly and that they have acted as patriots and that, he had to take the decision because of collapse of governance, because of threat to federal assets, and because of the risk of widespread violence. The president has the power, and that's why Section 305 uses the word shall to protect the country. But the same constitution does not give him powers to demolish democratic structures, to merge executive and legislative powers and say, oh, I leave the judiciary alone. Now, the president has congratulated our National Assembly. We have issues with the way the National Assembly has conducted itself. Voice votes. One lawmaker in the House of Reps, I think his name is Agwocha, what's his name again? Agwocha, a Labour Party member, stood up and challenged the Speaker of the House of Reps and said, look, we should have a head count to know if we have formed a quorum. Now, that Labour Party member was told to just sit down, that the attendance register has already taken care of that. We would like to see that attendance register. What is the number of people who were present in the House of Reps? And how was quorum formed? The same thing applies to the National Assembly, which has the House of Reps has a quorum of 230, right? The Senate has a quorum of 73. And that was why we said yesterday on this same program that the voting process should be televised so that we should know who is the House of Reps member, who is the senator who has decided to vote against the people of Rivers State. These are the issues on the table. It's about transparency and accountability. Shutting down the Labour Party MOR, who said he wanted a head count, I think was wrong. I think this thing should have been done in the open instead of voice vote. Oh, the ayes have it. The names have lost. No. We, the people of Nigeria, were left in the dark. This is a democracy. We want to know how the business of governance and parliament is conducted, not the National Assembly giving, reaffirming, confirming the impression that this National Assembly is devoted to the principle that anything the president wants, we will do. That frustrates public debate. It frustrates the exchange of ideas. It frustrates the freedom of choice.
Absolutely. All right. So a lot of people have started to ask questions around whether or not we're in a democracy and do not feel like that. Government by the people, for the people, of the people, by the people, by the people. And unfortunately, where we have representatives who do not represent the interests or the wishes of the people that they are there to represent, then we do not have a democracy. What we have is one person who is directing the show, and the others, in terms of the piper, the person who pays the piper dictating the tune, and the rest of them following the tune that has been dictated. Yesterday, Nigerians were watching to see how the National Assembly will vote in this matter. It would have been fair enough if they voted and followed due process, whereby what we said for such an important national matter like that, a voice vote would not suffice. That happened in both lower and higher chambers. But beyond that, I think what a lot of people also saw play out was the fact that opposition in Nigeria is dead. Let's face facts. What would you have expected? Because yesterday we did the maths. Even though the APC has a majority in terms of the seats in both houses, in both chambers, this did not show yesterday. Where was PDP? Where was the Labour Party? Where was ABGA? Where was the So why did people go and vote for for different parties of their choices if at the end of the day we're going to have a one-party system in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, with the exception of a few voices who had the boldness to stand up to speak? And so it means that there's no control of the leaders of this party amongst them. There's no ideology, which we've argued a lot of times. There's no stance. There's no mobilization. It means that these leaders who come out, including Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and the rest of them, have no voice when it comes to mobilizing their members in the National Assembly. You know, I say so because they came out releasing statements to stand against this. So what you would imagine, even the PDP as a party released a statement against this move, yet their members in the House did not go against the move. So it's a party divided. Let us face facts in Nigeria. Opposition is dead. And we've often talked about how that does not all go well for a thriving democracy in any nation, and it's quite a shame. So going to 2027, where we have just about 2 years left, it means that what are the choices of the Nigerian people? If at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you vote or what party you vote, when they get into the chambers, it is a different story. The second thing then would be the collective responsibility of Nigerians in what played out yesterday. Yes, we are saying, oh, the members, the senators, the House representatives didn't speak with the voices of Nigerians who had come out to dissent against this decision. But it also shows that they were speaking with the voice of the person or the people who sponsored them into that office. The reason why the person is called a representative is that you're there to represent the interests of the people who voted you in legitimately. If the people who voted you or who made it possible for you to sit in your seat do not have any say in your voices, then it means that they were not the ones responsible for you getting there. And so if you do not owe any allegiance, you're not afraid that come elections, they are going to really make their voices heard, then there's no point for you to listen to them. And so for everyone who says, oh, I'm not interested in politics, they're apathetic during election time, they do not monitor what is happening with their representatives. I often ask, do you know who is representing you in the National Assembly? A lot of people don't know. So this is a wake-up call for Nigerians. It's not enough to go on social media and get angry and make posts when things like this happen. The onus is on us in terms of our civic responsibility to take an active role, an active interest in what's happening in politics. Because you are the employers of these people in office. They represent your interests, your views, and not speaking on their own. But obviously what played out yesterday for a number of people was without consultation or hearing the voices of the people. So those are the challenges that we have in our democracy today. And that's what played out yesterday in the National Assembly.